Hello and welcome to my latest match pod report for www.mufcglobal.co.uk. Manchester United playing away at Valencia in the Champions League. Valencia 2, Manchester United 1. We'll start with the team news before going to the match, although the match preview ain't going to be very long because it was a shocker. But United, it was a dead rubber game. United were already through to the next phase, although they had the opportunity in the match, if they had won, to possibly top the group. But there were a number of changes because big match at the weekend. And goal was Romero. Sergio Romero, right back, and the captain was Antonio Valencia. Left back Marcos Rojo. Centre backs Phil Jones and Eric Bailly. In midfield, it was a midfield three of Fred, Fellaini, and Pogba. Fred was playing the more defensive role, and up front was Lukaku through the middle with Pereira on the left and Mata on the right. In regards to the game, to say there's not really much to say. It was an appalling performance from Manchester United. The only time they actually decided to start doing anything was in the last 10 minutes, and it was, well, they got a goal back after being 2-0 down, but Valencia dominated the game. Basically, they were the only team that actually showed any real efforts to try and perform in the match. Yes, there are some questions. I do have some question marks over the tactics, and I'll go back to that, especially starting Marcos Rojo at left back, which is just a ridiculous decision, and that is one decision that the manager has to has to take sole blame for. But at least they saw that at half time and took Rojo off. Which I think is a bit harsh on Rojo, because I think if you stick him in centre back, he's a better player. I'm not saying he's miles better, but he's a better player at centre back than he is at left back. But United just started slowly, although they start all matches slowly, the majority of matches slowly, to be fair. But it was all very one pace, very slow. They essentially gave the first goal away with some poor play on the left hand side. Rojo caught out, Fellaini nutmegged, and then a poor clearance header from Phil Jones. Although it was, to be fair, he's thinking to himself, how the heck have they got so much space on that right hand side? Then to Carlos Soler, who drilled the ball into the back of the net. No chance for goalkeeper Sergio Romero. And basically, from that point onwards, Valencia took complete control of the game. They should really have had a couple more goals. United, created odd chances. There was one chance from Paul Pogba, where he basically just missed an open net. I did send a message to my friend saying, did he miss that on purpose? Because to help Juventus, who at this stage I think they might have been behind at this stage when they were in their match, because they actually lost. So if United had won the game, they would have topped their group. But it's not necessarily about that. And I do have a WhatsApp that my friend sent me that is absolutely spot on in regards of actually trying. Half-time 1-0 was actually quite good for Manchester United, which has been the same in the majority of games this season, where if they're behind, it's because they've been absolutely tosh. But they've managed to improve, even though sometimes the improvements in the second half haven't been brilliant. It's been better than the first half. But 2 minutes into the second half, they gave away. It was just absolutely ridiculous. It was embarrassing. It was a joke goal giveaway, a through ball. Jones got there first, and he literally just kicked it past the goalkeeper. I'm sorry. Again, the players on the pitch at times, you do tend to think it absolutely embarrassing in it, and you can put your head on the ground and think, oh, that's awful. But I'm sorry, it's just not enough quality. It's basic stuff, and it's quite interesting because Ed Woodward, our main man that who deals with all the transfers, even though he's clueless and doesn't know anything about football, we all know that already, decided that Manchester United didn't need a centre back in the summer. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's an embarrassment to Manchester United as a club, because essentially it seems like they're trying to save money now, which is a bit of a worry in the long term. Rest of the game was pretty much same old. United attempted to come back into the game, but Valencia had all the chances. As I say, the 2-1 scoreline did flatter. As I say, they got a late goal. Rashford came on. He came on for Fred. There was a later substitute, Lukaku, on for Lingard. Lukaku had a poor game. Just simple stuff. It seemed that he got slightly back into it against Fulham. But I don't know what was going on today. He had a poor game, and he's probably played himself out the side for the Liverpool game, and he cannot complain because if you don't perform, you don't deserve to start matches. But they got a late goal through Rashford. Some nice play. Pogba actually did some good stuff. It's like he thought, well, you know what, I'll try for the fans instead of not doing anything. But that later, once you get a late goal, you sometimes think, yeah, we can get back into the game, which they did, and they had a couple of other minimal half chances to maybe have got a draw, but it wouldn't have been deserved because Valencia should have been maybe three. I'd say first half could have been three up, in the second half they had a couple more chances. It could have been 4-5-6-1, and it could have been an absolute thrashing. But that's the way United performed, and they didn't perform well enough in the game. I mean, in terms of analysis of the match, for me, I mean, whatever the tactics were in the first half, if the manager, and I've mentioned this before, if the manager and the coaches, remember Michael Carrick and Kieran McKenna, who were never mentioned, especially Carrick, they're part of the coaching team, and their coaching, I think it's been shown, is not up to the required standard. But if that's what they sent them out to do in the first half, then they need to be sacked. They should have just been sacked at half time. But my personal view is they weren't told to play in that passive form, but for whatever reason, some of the players on the pitch weren't bothered. They weren't trying, they weren't putting. It's the effort and attitude. They might hate the boss, you might hate your boss, but put the effort and attitude into actually trying to play. You're playing for Manchester United. You just, but some of these players, they're just picking up the wages. But you do look on, you have to look at the manager who's been there 3 years. But a lot of the commentators, let's just say out there, it's never the players. It can't be the players, of course not. I mean, they are giving instructions, but some of them were massively not trying. I mentioned a couple of names, but I don't necessarily want to pick on people. But I mean, let us take Pogba. Pogba played today. He had a good opportunity to even if he performed well and others didn't, but it wasn't really that bothered. I mean, the missed goal, which wasn't offside in the end. I mean, I'm sorry. That is just, as I say, you watch it again, and as I say, you sort of laugh and you think, was he missing that for Juventus? But you look at it and you tend to think, how have you not at least put that into the back of the net? And don't look round, put your hand over your shirt over your face, looking embarrassed, because I'm sorry, you might not want to be at Manchester United, but you should be putting in the required levels of effort. And as I say, he wasn't the only one. There were a number there that were just essentially not trying. The effort and attitude was an embarrassment, and they've made it easy for the manager, for his team to pick for Sunday at Liverpool. Because some of them players, they literally just don't want to know. And whatever the situation is, Ed Woodward's got a decision to make. Because I've mentioned before about my manager. Yes, some people will say, oh, look at the regression. There is regression, without a doubt. But also, if a new manager comes in and then players decide to start performing, I think that tells you everything you need to know about the players. They take their money, but they decide, oh yeah, new manager, oh, he's really nice to me, oh, I like my manager, I'll start playing. But the thing is, you at least try. You cannot be very good, but you at least try. I mean, one of the WhatsApp my mate sent me during the game, which I thought was absolutely spot on. I don't give an F about finishing top. That's top of the group. We've qualified. What I do give an F about is not putting in full effort to win every game. You go out to play wearing the United shirt. So it's just like, if you're wearing a Man United shirt, you put the effort in. We've had plenty of players who haven't been the greatest of players, but they can do the basics, and they've done the basics. And these are professional footballers, and they can do that, but they weren't. I mean, there was a pass right at the end of the game. Antonio Valencia, who, personal view, he should be sold in January, because he's basically not a leader. He shouldn't be captain. They say that's on the managers that have previously been there and made him captain, so he's not going to say no. But a simple pass, he just passed it straight through to the goalkeeper under no pressure. And he's not the only one. There are a lot of the players that just can't do the basics, and it's amazing. You tend to think, and this is an important thing, and I think it's justifiable. What are Mourinho, what are Carrick, what are McKenna doing on the training ground? Because one thing's for sure, the players are not listening, or some players are just not bothering to listen. Because, well, partly because they don't like Mourinho, but if they do like Carrick and McKenna, you at least try and put the effort in. As I say, I've seen huddles before where Carrick's given instructions. Southampton game's a classic example, and then they just did nothing for the start of the game. So, as I say, it was a dead rubber game, and we're lucky United had already done the business and got that result. The result in Juventus was important, and obviously that last minute, even though it was a handball by Fellaini against Young Boys, was massive. Because you tend to think if United had to go to Valencia and try and get a draw or win, they wouldn't have been able to do it, and that's a scary thought. And next up is Liverpool, unbeaten league leaders. Football's a funny old game, and I know that Jose will go there to win. But one thing is, he'll have a team that's going to actually try. I think on Sunday, actually, no, I'm not even going to say. I think he's going to have a team that's going to actually try. They need to get their tactics right, but United have the players that can do a good job. I mean, for me, if Martial's fit, 9 of the team are basically set in stone. I mean, there's a question mark possibly, depending if Shaw's fit. Do you play Ashley Young or Dallo? It's question marks there, but that's an easy decision. That's not a judgment call to be made of who comes in. Who's going to be playing. It's just a case of deciding which one. I mean, if Martial's fit, Lukaku has to be on the bench. I mean, I put Lukaku on the bench anyway because he's not played well enough today in holding the ball up. As I say, he's not the only one. There were a few on the pitch. I've mentioned a few people, but there were a few on the pitch that just weren't up for it, just didn't perform, and you could tell the effort and attitude just wasn't there. It's like they think, well, if we get a bad result, the manager's going to be the one who gets the blame because they know that they're weak, the board are weak, and the board just think about the finance side in regards of the amount of money they've put into the players. As I say, getting rid of one man. Although, in my opinion, if the manager does go, Carrick and McKenna have to go as well. But they won't because everything at Manchester United is down to the manager, like Phil Jones' goal and Paul Pogba missing basically an open goal, even though it was given offside. But so that's all the manager's fault. That's basically just being a professional footballer, having pride in your work, and not being somebody that necessarily might want out, but you still do your job. Because a lot of players leave clubs, but they put in the effort before they go. I'll give you one example. Coutinho for Liverpool. He wanted to leave, but he put in the performances, he tried, and then they let him go for the relevant amount. So if you're listening, Mr. Pogba, you can leave, but you'll leave under Manchester United's auspices because you've got 2 years left on your contract. Or you might just want to try starting to play and put in a bit of effort. And a few, as I say, people say, oh, focus on Pogba, but at the end of the day, he had a great chance, in my opinion, to get into that team against Liverpool. Because I think there was a gap in the midfield. Because we know Matic and Herrera are going to be playing. There was a gap there in the midfield 3 for him to come in. And he didn't even bother to take it. And to be honest, pretty much nobody else did. The only players that I exempt from anything today, Eric Bailly, because he was basically playing the defence on it, playing the attack on his own. Sergio Romero, because basically he did what he needed to do. He didn't have a chance for any of the goals. And possibly Juan Mata. He got sort of lost in it a little bit, Juan Mata, but he may be the beneficiary of Pogba not even bothering today. So, on to Anfield on Sunday. It will be a massive game. Manchester United have to go there, and as I've mentioned before, whatever the situation is, they have to go there and they have to try and win the game. You do have to go tactically, because if they try and go toe-to-toe, at the moment Liverpool are better side than Manchester United, so that would be silly. What they need to do is have a tactic, but they need to be positive and try to, put pressure on Liverpool. The front 3 hopefully will hassle them, and Rashford will definitely play, and Lingard will definitely play, and it depends hopefully Martial's fit, because he will be a danger to them. But it's a match where they've got to go to Anfield, and it gives something to the away fans, because the away fans got nothing at Valencia, and it's not, as I say, across the board, the whole footballing side of the club let the away fans down, but they'll go home and they'll coin it in the players, the management side, and the coaching team, whereas the fans who have been absolutely superb all season will get nothing. They pay their money. I mean, yeah, you pay your money, you take your chances. But let's hope we give them something at Anfield on Sunday, where I will be back for another match pod review after the game. As always, plenty of other content up at www.mufcglobal.co.uk. So all my pods are up there, but there's plenty of articles up there about Manchester United that are a good read. So get reading those as well, and listening to my pods, and you're all good stuff on Manchester United. So thanks for listening. I will be back at the weekend after the it's 4:30. I think it's 4:30. I think it's 4:30. But if it's 4 o'clock, don't worry. I'll be in the pub ready for the game. So thanks for listening. Bye.